Let me mention this example that many may hear it right now for the first time. And there's tens more. But let me talk about this one. May it be something new and some nice lessons out of it. Visualize the scene and circumstances with me. This is 10 years after receiving the revelation of Allah. In Mecca. He still didn't go to Medina. He's still in Mecca. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam just lost his internal support, his wife Khadija. The woman who took him in when everyone ousted him. As he himself said, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The woman who believed in him when everyone disbelieved in him. The woman who trusted him when everyone called him a liar. This is what he said about her. His internal support. She's gone now. He lost his external support right after. Right about at the same time. He said about his uncle, ما نالت قريش مني شيئا أكره حتى مات أبو طالب. The man, he said, Quraysh, about his uncle, Quraysh never touched me with harm until my uncle Abu Talib died. These were the darkest days in the da'wah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The word gets to the Qurayshians that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam plans to leave Mecca. They begin to say, no way. We're not going to let this happen. The harm and torture on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam reached its peak. The word gets to Abu Lahab. Abu Lahab, pay attention. This is in the first volume of Al-Tabaqat Al-Kubra Ibn Sa'd, and the first volume on page 211. Pay attention, and I didn't get it wrong. It's Abu Lahab, the most notorious man who's been for 10 years harming the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the one who started with a spit at the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Tabban laka lihadha jama'atana. If you were to say who's the most notorious man who harmed the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it would be either a competition between Abu Jahl and Abu Lahab. Possibly more likely Abu Lahab. Abu Lahab, because he had his wife and he had his whole family harming the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Abu Lahab was suddenly moved by the zeal of tribalism and Jahiliyyah to defend the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's seen all the harm his nephew endured after the death of his brother Abu Talib. He shouted, he said, my nephew will go where he wills, and whoever goes near to him, I will chop his neck with my sword. You know, this is Abu Lahab talking. Abu Lahab. The surface, shallow, layman explanation would be zeal of tribalism. That's what moved him. The real reason for me and you is Allah. Allah used an unbeliever, an enemy of Islam like Abu Lahab as means to protect the message of Allah. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised. It's the power of Allah. The language of the heavens is different. When you put your faith in Allah, doing what He said, the means come to you in ways you never imagined. When they thought the elephants, the size of the elephants were so big and so powerful that it can destroy anything in its sight, and it did destroy anything until it reached the Kaaba, Allah sent what to those huge elephants they thought can destroy anything? Little tiny stones, little baby stones. When An-Namrud thought he can claim lordship to Ibrahim, قَالَ أَنَا أُحْيِي وَأُمِيتُ, Allah sent a fly in his brain to put him to his demise. When Ad thought they were strongest, telling Hud, who's more powerful than us? Bring your Lord powerful than us? Bring him on. مَنْ أَشَدُّ مِنَّا قُوَّةً أَوَلَمْ يَرَوْا أَنَّ اللَّهَ الَّذِي خَلَقَهُمْ وَأَشَدُّ مِنْهُمْ قُوَّةً. Allah sent them wind. When Thamud thought they were strong and mighty, it was just a shout, a little cry to destroy them. When the coalition thought they can destroy Islam and the whole world united against the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah dispersed them running away with a little bit of a wind. It is Allah. That's Allah. That's the work of Allah. Sunna Allah alladhi atqana kull shay. Allah ends the stories of evil with the smallest means. Take this rule from me. Take this rule from me. Don't occupy yourself ever with how evil ends. Don't occupy yourself ever with how evil ends. Occupy yourself with defending and implementing the truth. Abu Lahab, if he is mentioned, animosity and hatred of the Prophet ﷺ is imprinted and embedded in your mind. But for a period of time, Allah made out of him a protector to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who made, help me out here, who made out of one of the top notorious enemies of Islam a man to defend the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam for a period of time. Allah. You stand your ground, especially in matters of principles. Have yaqeen and watch what Allah is going to do. Allah will make a way out. Allah will make a way out where there seems to be no way out. That is Allah. He works in ways we cannot see. He will make a way out for you. The one who has control over minds more than I control my mind can bring victory and power. He controls minds more than one controls his own mind. It is Allah, the one who can come between a person and his mind. وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ يَحُولُ بَيْنَ الْمَرْءِ وَقَلْبِهِ. Do you understand the Quran? Abu Lahab, تَبَّتْ يَدَا أَبِي لَهَبٍ وَتَبْ, who said, don't believe him, he's a liar. The man who led a media campaign against the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, harming the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Suddenly he says, لِيَخْرُجَ ابْنُ أَخِي لِمَا يُرِيدُ وَمَنِ اقْتَرَبَ مِنْهُ بِسُوءٍ دَقَقْتُ عُنُقَهُ بِسَيْفِي. Something that doesn't enter your mind. I can understand when Abu Talib was defending the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Abu Talib was alive, he defended the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Abu Talib never became a believer. He played but he never at the same time played a role in harming the Prophet ﷺ. His image was that of a wise man, a calm man who didn't believe, but he defended. Here you have the notorious uncle who harmed him for 10 years, so suddenly defended him. The one we say Allah Akbar, Akbar, wanted it and it happened. He's Akbar. Do you really believe he's Akbar? Ya Muhammad, امضي لما أردت وما كنت صانعا إذ كان أبو طالب حيا فاصنعه. He told Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, go about in your business. Do exactly what you were doing while my brother Abu Talib was alive. Go ahead, spread your message. لا واللات والعزى لا يوصل إليك حتى أموت. By the Lat and the Uzza, no one will touch you until I die. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam went out in da'wah for a time period, protected by the most notorious enemy of his. Allah, Sunnah Allah, the work of Allah. It is Allah who extracts protection from the head of the kufr to the head of Islam. Allah, that's Allah. Ibn al-Ghaytila cursed the Prophet one time after Abu Lahab said this, or right before. Do you know who attacked him and physically beat him? No other than Abu Lahab. Abu Lahab heard he cursed the Prophet, he ran to him and beat him. The troublemakers now, the people of Fitan, the instigators, go to Abu Lahab. Uqba ibn Abi Ma'yad and Abu Jahl, Uqba and Abu Jahl, they went, they heard what Abu Lahab is doing. They said, are you defending, this defendant of the Prophet, is it stemming from your belief in him? Did you believe in him? Asaba'ta? Or is it kinship? He said kinship. They breathed a sigh of relief. At least it's not as bad as they thought it was. At least he's still on our religion. Then they took it a step further. They used Abu Lahab's Jahiliyyah kinship zeal for defending the Prophet ﷺ against him. They said, go ask Muhammad where your father is. Is he in heaven or in hell? Meaning, you defended him, Abu Lahab, you're defending him because he's your nephew. Okay, just go ask him where his dad is. Our father, our leader. Where is he? Muhammad's grandfather, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Where is he? The one, he gave birth to you. He's your father. Where is he? In heaven or hell? Go ask your nephew. They told Abu Lahab, go ask your nephew where your father is. Abu Lahab went to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Said, come here, Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Where's my father? These are lessons to take heed from. Pay attention to the circumstances. He was just right there, he lost his internal support, it's gone. His external support is gone. He's a man alone, one man alone, a ummah in himself. The Prophet ﷺ is weak and lonely. One of the weakest points of da'wah. Ghuraba, no one knows that but a true da'iyah who faces the circumstances which you feel and go through. He was so weak and lonely that Allah revealed to him Surah Yusuf. to make him feel better. And then took him to the heavens in Isra, right at that time, because it was one of the weakest points of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Everyone was against him. Today, the diluted, watered down, wishy-washy Muslims would have said, come on, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, tell him his father's in Jannah. Let's get it over with. Just win him over. Tell him his father's in Jannah. The namby-pamby of today would have told the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we need the superpower of Abu Lahab to protect us. Don't be a radical. Come on, just clip your wala and bara a little bit and tell him what he wants to hear so he won't harm us. The spineless, the gutless of today would have cried, wisdom, 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 wisdom. Go gradual on the kid. They would have said, go gradual on Abu Lahab. Go. The topsy-turvy who suckled their version of Islam from the intelligence of the West instead of from deriving it from the Quran and Sunnah would have told the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you're weak, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you're weak. This is a small window of da'wah opportunity. Interfaith. Yeah, interfaith. Tell him, make it broad. Make it seem like it's broad. All the Abrahamic religions, well, they're all going to heaven. They're all going to be in Jannah. All of them. Tell him what he wants to hear. Then after he becomes Muslim, we'll sit him down. You leave that to us. We'll sit him down and teach him that his father is really in hell. Tell him his father is in Jannah because he's now protecting you. You owe him some favors. He will kill and torture you and us. That's what the deviant people of today would have said. But full of confidence, full of yaqeen in Allah, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, your father is with his people. Ma'a QUBE. He went, Abu Lahab walked away. He went told Uqba and Abu Jahl, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam just said, my father is with my people. Uqba and Abu Jahl knew what the Prophet meant. That he's in hell. They knew exactly what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam meant. And they were right. They knew and they were sure about it. They told Abu Lahab, go ask him what he meant when he said ma'a qawmi, he's with his people. Let him make it clear to you. What did he mean? They know, Abu Lahab did it. Abu Lahab returns. Imagine the pressure that would be on a man in a predicament that the Prophet ﷺ's in. That's why I mentioned to you the circumstances around the story. On one hand, you have the biggest leader of his time, and an ex-enemy defending him heart and soul, and you owe him favors for defending you. On the other hand, it's the laws and rules of Allah, the Sharia of Allah. The Prophet had the opportunity, and it's going to cause him harm. The Prophet ﷺ had the opportunity to sugarcoat it. He could have sugarcoated it. His answer, when Abu Lahab returned, he said, Muhammad, did you mean my father? Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Did you mean my father is in hell? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Naam. وَمَنْ مَاتَ عَلَى مِثْلِ مَا مَاتَ عَلَيْهِ عَبْدُ الْمُطَّلِبِ دَخَلَ النَّارِ. Yes, that's exactly what I meant. Not only that, him and who died on what he died on is in hell. Allah, it don't matter who is in before you. Allah is going to protect you. Allahu khayrun hafidha. Abu Lahab on the spot said, I'm your enemy forever, and began to harm the Prophet ﷺ and encourage others to harm him and torture him. لا برحت لك عدوا وأنت تزعم أن عبد المطلب في النار فاشتد عليه هو وسائر قريش. He flipped on the Prophet ﷺ and he encouraged others to flip on him and harm him more. The Prophet could have avoided that with one word. He could have sugarcoated it. Are you telling me the Prophet ﷺ had no wisdom? Are you trying to tell me he threw himself and the few believers into danger? At one of the darkest moments of the Prophet ﷺ's da'wah life, why didn't the Prophet ﷺ give him a word to please him to overcome that dark era? Why didn't the Prophet ﷺ say, he is with his people and keep it at that? Or Allah knows best. We got fundamental principles there is no compromise on, no matter what. No matter what the consequences are. Some teachings, we don't accept graduality in them. You have to say them how they are. You have to say them how they are. You got to implement them how they are. Why didn't the Prophet ﷺ say, look, Abu Lahab, give me a few days. gather a few believers around and vote on it. Let's vote on it. What is Abu Abdul Muttalib in Jannah or Jahannam? Gather a few of the Sahaba there and vote on it. Let's vote on it. You don't play games like that with the laws of Allah. It's not a game to be played with. I don't care what alim gave a fatwa on that. That's the laws of Allah. You don't vote. Who are you to vote on it and accept that? Do you think the Prophet ﷺ didn't know he was weak? Do you think the Prophet ﷺ didn't know what the consequence of telling him his dad is in hell would be? Do you think he didn't know all that? But there's no compromise on principles. I'm sorry to tell you that. That's the religion.